So we've now got our configuration set up, and so we should be ready to actually create a note. Let's just take a quick look at what it's done. So if we take a look at config Wibble conf, you can see it's actually written out this configuration file here with all of the settings. So if you decide you want to use a different editor, instead of LeafPad, if you want to use XFWrite or Emacs or something, you could just simply edit this file and change it here. So that's your main configuration file. Use the tool to generate your initial stub, your initial version, and then you can obviously edit it to your heart's desire, I should say. Right, so we have a working configuration. Let's actually do something with the tool. So Wibble create, and as you can see, it starts immediately prompting for some metadata. So what are we going to do here? Let's say title testing 1 2 3, file type. So the whole point here is you can literally have a text file. You could use it, create an org file, a markdown file, or if it was a source file, you could be C or JavaScript or something like that. But let's just stick with txt, just a plain text file. And description, this is just a test demonstration note. So some sort of more meaningful description that kind of expands on the title. Project. Now the project, the thing to understand about the project field is the way that, and I'll show this later in a second, but basically when it creates the note tree, or the hierarchy of notes, one of the containing folders is the project. So basically, for example, if you were to put all of, let's say you were wanting to add notes for a kind of work project or something, and you decided to call that project my work project. Let's do that. Basically, any notes that you create with that project name will end up under a subdirectory called my work project. So that could be potentially useful if you, for whatever reason, manually want to kind of copy and paste a bunch of notes out of the main tree, perhaps do easily share them elsewhere, or give them to a colleague, or post them on a public forum, or whatever it is you might do. Tags, again, this is just a bunch of identifiers that you can search for. Now, you absolutely do not have to use the hash symbol, for your tags. You don't have to do that. You could just simply put work, for example. But just as a general convention, I quite like using the hash symbol. So for the tags, so hash work, hash my work project. I mean, these are pretty bad tag names, but we're just giving an example here. Class, again, this is just yet another metadata field that allows you to kind of categorize and search and filter for things. So class, I don't know, we could just simply say something as generic as work. So you could have a class of notes that you always tag with personal, another class of notes that you always label with work, another class that could be Project X, whatever that is. It's just another way of filtering things. Unlike the project, this has no effect on the actual note hierarchy created. So really, it's only project that affects the note hierarchy. And the other thing I should also add at this point is you'll notice that title and file type are bolded and have the asterisks, and that is because those are the only two metadata fields that are absolutely required. So you could basically type your title, specify your file type, and then just hammer enter and not enter anything for the rest, and that's absolutely fine. Obviously, good practice would be, if you're thinking long term and thinking, maybe potentially you might end up with 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 notes even, you want to, the more kind of sensible metadata you can put here, and the more intelligently you can set kind of a kind of well thought out schema or pattern ahead of time, then the better, because the easier it will be to kind of filter and search and find exactly what you want when you want it. But anyway, let's call this class work. Key pairs, okay, let's add some. So this is just literally, as the kind of name suggests, a set of key value pairings, and you can have as many of these as you like. So for example, you might do something like priority value high. So this is a high priority, or you could do due date 23/12/17 at 10 a.m. let's say, something like that. And so it's added those two key value pairs, and you could keep going, but I'm just going to skip out of that. So basically, to escape from that, you just enter a blank field. Custom, again, as the name suggests, this is just yet another field that you can use in any number of ways with any kind of system that you like. You could put something like people, Mark, Jane, Thomas, something like that, for example. Or you could put custom delete me, because this is some junk note that you're going to get rid of. Again, it's just another field that you can use to filter and search on. So I'm just going to leave that and delete me. So we've entered those in, create new note. So here we go. Basically, it's asking us one last confirmation. We're happy with everything. So and you can see that the fields that don't yet have any values, the data does, and the linked IDs there, they are null, which is what you would expect. So nothing there. So the placeholder is always this kind of null. So let's go create the new note. Let's create yes, and it takes us in here. So this is my work project test demonstration notes, or whatever. So let's write that out and quit. And as you can see here, so it's set up this no database exists. Well, of course, because we've this is the very first no. So it's created this database file in our specified location. It's set up an archive database in this location, and it's set up the kind of stock kind of storage directory structure under our specified location. The difference between the archive and the main database is that the idea is if you have notes and information that you kind of don't really need or not particularly interested in, but potentially you want to maybe retrieve it at some point in the future. It's probably not of interest, but it may be you want to archive it rather than delete it. And so the idea is you can just simply move things from the main database to the archive database, and we'll cover that in another video. It's very easy. But basically the idea is you can keep your main database clean so that it's not polluted with kind of, work notes from 5 years ago that contain information you're not interested in anymore, but you don't want to delete those work notes because you never know, maybe for some bizarre reason there is something of information that you do want to retrieve for value, or something you may one day actually realize you do want to access. So you can shove things in the archive. Exactly the same principle as kind of like when you archive emails and things. They're emails you don't really have an interest in, but on the other hand you don't want to delete them just in case. So we've created a new note. So that's great. So what's next? Well, that would be to actually, how do we view and retrieve and find notes?